Bore da, croeso I gwasanaeth yr wythnos. Good morning and welcome to this week's assembly. Our half-termly value is all about trust. Hi everybody, I hope you had a lovely weekend. In last week's story, in After the Storm, we learned about how Percy the park keeper earned the trust of the animals in the park. Now, we talked about why we trust people. For example, we trust people because they're kind to us, they look after us, they help us. In this week's story, though, it's a little bit unusual because we're talking about telling the truth and trust, but is it always a good idea to tell the truth? This week's story is called The Honest to Goodness Truth, and it's about a girl called Libby who always tells the truth. But if telling the truth is the right thing to do, why is everybody so mad at Libby? So before we start the story, have a chat about these two questions. When should you tell the truth? And are there any times when you should not tell the truth? Have a chat now in your class. Once upon a time, there lived a little girl called Libby, who lived with her mum on a farm. One day, Libby's mum asked her if she had fed the old horse. Libby lied and said, "Yes, mum, I have." She was surprised how easy it was to lie to her mum. But Libby's mum was suspicious and thought that Libby was lying. "Libby Louise Sullivan, I will ask you one more time. Did you feed our horse?" Libby began to feel a bit guilty and her eyes filled with tears. I was going to do it, Mummy. As soon as I got back from my friend's house," she owned up to her lie. Libby felt a lot better by being honest with her mum about her lie, although her mum punished her by making her stay in all the rest of the day. This was the first time that Libby had ever lied to her mum, and as far as she was concerned, it would be the last time as well. From now on, only the truth, she decided, and Libby started her truth-telling the same day. The next day, Libby arrived at school and met her friends. "Morning, everybody," she said. "Oh, I like your outfit. It's really pretty. Oh, but you've got a hole in your sock." Libby's friend was really sad, as everybody now was looking at the hole in her sock. Do you think Libby should have told her friend about the hole in the sock? Later that day, after school, Libby said to her friend, "Shall we walk home together?" But her friend said no. Libby was really surprised. "What did I do? You told the whole world that I had a hole in my sock." "But it was the truth," Libby said. "You were just being plain mean," said her friend, and she walked away. Libby walked home on her own, feeling very confused. "All I did was tell the truth, and now my friend is mad at me." The next morning, Libby was walking with some of her other friends to school. "Did you do your geography homework?" William asked Libby. "Oh yes," she said. "It was easy." "Oh, not for me," said William, and he shook his head. "I didn't understand it, so I didn't do it." Now all the children were in class, and what do you think Libby did? Libby started waving her hand at the teacher. "Miss, miss, miss, miss." "Yes, Libby," said the teacher. "William didn't do his geography homework last night." "He hasn't done his homework?" said the teacher. "No, miss, he hasn't." William gave her an ugly look. "Why have you told on me, Libby?" he whispered. "All I'm doing is telling the truth," said Libby. And as the day went on, Libby continued to tell lots of truths to people, and by the end of the day, hardly anyone would talk to her. "I promised my mum I would tell the truth no matter how much it hurt," Libby said to herself, "and that's all I've done." Still confused, on the way home, Libby walked past her neighbour's house, Miss Berry's. She decided to ask Miss Berry about telling the truth. So Libby asked, "Can the truth be wrong, Miss Berry? "Oh no," Miss Berry said. "The truth is never wrong. Always tell the truth." "That's what I thought," Libby said, with a smile on her face. Miss Berry picked a flower and gave it to Libby. "Libby, don't you think my garden is lovely?" asked Miss Berry. Libby thought for a moment and actually thought the garden looked quite untidy. So, polite as she could, she answered, "Miss Berry, truly and honestly, your garden is like a jungle." "How rude," Miss Berry gasped. "Oh, please don't be mad," Libby pleaded. But it was too late, and Miss Berry rushed inside her house and slammed the door. Once she got home, Libby told her mum that people were mad at her for telling the truth. "All I've done is tell the truth, and now they're mad at me, Mum." Mum smiled. "Oh, I see," she said. "Sometimes the truth is told at the wrong time, or in the wrong way, or for the wrong reasons, and that can be hurtful. But the honest-to-goodness truth is never wrong." The honest-to-goodness truth? What does that mean? Libby thought. Later that day, Libby went to the barn to feed and water and brush her horse. Her neighbour Sarah walked by. "Huh, you could brush that horse all day long and she wouldn't look any prettier." "Please don't say that about my horse," Libby said. And then Libby thought for a moment about her own truth-telling, and her own mum's words suddenly became crystal clear. Sometimes you can be too honest and too truthful. The honest-to-goodness truth is what's important. The next day, on the way to school, Libby caught up with her friends and knew exactly what she had to say. She spoke to her friend who had the hole in her sock, and she said, "You did have a hole in your sock, but I could have whispered it instead of shouting it in front of everybody. I'm so sorry." Then she saw William, and she apologised too, and said, "I should have let you tell Miss about your own homework. It was unfair, and it wasn't my business in the first place." Finally, on the way home, Libby popped in to see Miss Berry. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings yesterday," Libby said. "Libby, you were right. My garden is a little bit messy," said Miss Berry. "But," she said, "the truth is often hard to chew. But if it is sweetened with love, then it's a little easier to swallow." Libby smiled. She'd learnt an important lesson. Whilst telling the truth was important, the way you tell it makes the difference. So we've heard about two types of truth today, honest truth and goodness truth. But let's just recap on exactly what they mean. It is important to tell the truth. However, we don't want to be too honest and, like in the story, tell everybody about the things that we don't like about them. We sometimes have to remember these things are best not said. The goodness truth is the best. This helps people to trust us, and it makes us and everybody around us happy.